Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on the topic root finding methods. So, basically, root finding methods can be classified as the bracketing methods and the open methods. So, here we will be discussing about finding the roots of functions, including polynomials, trigonometric functions, exponential functions, any type of mathematical expressions we come across in engineering, all types of functions, if we want to find out the root of a given function. So, if it is not possible to find out the root using analytical method, then we go for the numerical methods. And numerical methods for root finding can be classified as the bracketing methods and the open methods. In the bracketing methods, we will be discussing about the graphical method, the bisection method, and the false position method. And in open methods, we will discuss about the single variable Newton-Raphson method, secant method, and multiple roots. So basically, when we talk about the graphical methods, uh, it is the most simple and raw method to find out the root of a given function. So a simple method for obtaining the estimate of the root of the equation fx equal to 0 is to plot the function and observe where it crosses the x-axis. Like in the figures which are shown, if you just look at the figure A, function fx is plotted versus x, so you get the curve of this nature, and this curve does not intersect the x-axis at any point for the given range. So what it means is there is no root lying in this particular range of the search. Whereas if you just look at the second graph, the curve fx versus x here, if you see, it intersects the x-axis at a point uh, shown by this point. So this point gives you the root of the given function. That is the value of x for which the function value becomes equal to 0. Graphing the function can also indicate where roots may be or where some root finding methods may fail. So, graphical method gives you an indication also that in which range of the values of x the root may lie, but in certain cases the same indication may fail also. Like if for a particular range, that is for a lower limit, say we denote it by xl, and the higher limit of x value we denote it with xu, for that range if we want to check whether the root will lie between this range, and we calculate function values for the lower limit xl and function value for the upper limit xu, and if the function values have the same sign as in the graph 1, f of xl and f of xu both are positive. So if the function values have the same sign, then it indicates that no root will lie in that range, as shown in figure 1, that is figure A. If you look at figure B, it is having different signs. Function value at xl is negative, function value at xu is positive. So if the function values of the two limits xl and xu have opposite signs, then it indicates that one root will lie in the range xl to xu. If you look at the third graph, here the curve is parabolic, and in the range xl to xu, it intersects the x-axis twice. It intersects the x-axis twice. That means from this graph we can see that two roots are lying in that range, but the function value of xl is positive and function value of xu is also positive. So this is another case of similar to the graph A. So if the function values at xl and xu have the same sign, it also may indicate that there will be two roots lying in the range xl to xu. And the third graph, what it is showing is f of xl is positive, f of xu is negative, and there lies 3 root in that range. So this is how we can get an indication as how many roots may lie in the range we have selected for the search of the root for the given function. And as we can see that there are some contradictory things also, as we can see from graph A. For if for the lower limit xl and for the higher limit xu, if the function values have the same sign, graph A says there will be no root lying in that range. Whereas in graph C, we can see that function value at xl and function value at xu have the same sign, and there are two roots in between. So the nature of the graph is same, but the conditions are different. In one graph there is no root lying, in the other case there will be two roots lying. So depending on the type of the graph, some numerical methods may fail, because while using a particular numerical method we have to check for certain conditions to decide the lower limit and the upper limit of search of the root. Now coming to the first method, that is before we start with bisection method, we will just see what we mean to say by bracketing methods. Why do we call them as bracketing method? Here in graphical method it's easy because on the graph it is clearly visible. Once you plot the graph of fx versus x, it is clearly visible if the function value intersects or crosses the x-axis. So if it crosses the x-axis, the root lies there. So as in this case, there does not lie any root in the range xl to xu. In the second graph, one root lies in the range xl to xu. Third graph, two roots lie in the range xl to xu. In the fourth graph, three roots lie in the range xl to xu. But when we are not plotting the graph and still we want to find out the root of the given function, there has to be certain conditions to decide the lower limit and upper limit of the range in which there certainly lies at least one root of the given function. So how do we decide that is, we have to first make two initial guesses that will bracket the root. That means we have to be sure that the two initial guesses we make, there has to be at least one root lying in that range. So how we can ensure that is, we calculate the function value at the lower limit xl. Also we calculate the function value at the upper limit xu. And if the two function values have opposite signs, then we come to a conclusion that there will certainly be at least one root lying in the range xl to xu. And this can be checked mathematically by multiplying the function values f of xl into f of xu less than 0. If the function value at xl and function value at xu are of opposite signs, then the product will be less than 0. So this condition has to be checked when we make the two guesses for any of the bracketing methods. So this becomes your condition to be checked before we finalize the two guesses. The incremental search method tests the value of the function at evenly spaced intervals. It finds brackets by identifying function sign changes between the neighboring points. Now coming back to the first numerical method, that is the bisection method, and it is the bracketing method. That means we have the lower limit and the upper limit as the initial guesses, and the condition is checked that f of xl into the f of xu will be negative. Only then it ensures that there certainly lies at least one root in the given in the selected range of x values. So if we just look at the graphical representation, this is just an example for some function fm where m is the variable, and we plot f of m versus m. So this is the nature of the graph we get, and here you can see this is the value of xl selected, which is equal to 50, and xu is somewhere around 200. And if you see from the graph, f of xl is negative and f of xu is positive. So from the condition, we need to check for bracketing methods. F of xl into f of xu will be negative, and we are sure that there will certainly lie at least one root in the range xl to xu. So bisection method is a variation of the incremental search method in which the interval is always divided in half. If a function changes sign over an interval, the function value at the midpoint is evaluated. So once we have selected that range xl to xu, what we do next is we find out the midpoint of the range xl to xu. So that will be calculated by this xr, that is denoted by xr, and it is calculated equal to xr is equal to xl plus xu upon 2. So we get the value of xr. And for this value of xr, I again now calculate the function value, that is f of xr. And we check the sign of f of xr. Now here from the graph you can see that at xr, f of xr is negative, right? So what we conclude after the first iteration is that now I come to know that the root lies between xr and xu. So for the next iteration, now the search range has reduced to half the initial search range. Now the search range has half half the initial search range. So the next iteration search will be between this xr and xu. So here you can see for the second iteration, this is the search range. So now what we have done is we have just shifted. This becomes now the lower limit of the range. This becomes the upper limit of the range for search of the root. Again, we follow the same method, bisection method. We have to find out the midpoint of the range of the search. So again, we do the same calculation. It will be XR, new value of XR. That is the XR after at the second iteration will be equal to XL plus XU upon 2. XR will be equal to XL plus XU upon 2. So I get the XR value here in the second iteration. Now from graph, if you see at this value of XR, if I go vertically up, I can see that the function value is now positive. So what I conclude is now the root lies between this current value of XR and the current value of XL. So we will now search the root between XL and XR, and now the lower limit becomes for third iteration, lower limit is XL, upper limit is equal to now XR. Previous value of XR is now the value of XU. Again, I find the midpoint of the search range, that is new value of XR will be equal to XL plus XU upon 2. So I get new value of X, which is again reducing the range by half. And we again do the calculation for f of XR. So if you just look at the method, we started with this range XL to XU, that was 50 to 200. So after first iteration, the search range was halved, that was from this XR to XU. In the next iteration, again it is halved and it becomes 1/4 of the initial range. So every iteration we are reducing the search range by half. We are reducing the search range by half and slowly we are approaching towards the root. So when we reach the required, we reach the value close enough to the root, considering the error conditions, we can stop the iterations. Generally, the error permissible is mentioned a value something like epsilon is equal to 0.001. So when you find that two consecutive values of XR are equal up to 3 decimal places, we can stop our iterations and conclude that we have reached the root. Just to give you an example, this is a example I have solved. This is the given function f of c, where c, we have to find out the root of this particular function. That means we have to find the value of c for which fc becomes equal to 0 using the bisection method, and the lower limit and the upper limit are xl is equal to 4 and xu is equal to 20. So I have just solved it in the tabular form so that it is more presentable. So XL values I'm writing in column number 1, XU values I'm writing in column number 2. So here XL is equal to 4, XU is equal to 20. So first step we do is we calculate the function value at XL, that is f of XL when XL is equal to 4. So I get the value as 34.11484, and then I calculate f of XU, which comes to minus 8.40063. So one is positive, one is negative. So we are sure that at least one root will lie between the range 4 to 20. Then we do the further calculation, that is we calculate XR, which is equal to XL plus XU upon 2. So here for the first iteration, XL is 4, XU is 20. So 4 plus 20 I get 24, and 24 by 2 I get 12. So the new value of XR becomes equal to 12. Once we get XR, we calculate the function value at XR. So this comes positive. Now when I see that the function value at XR is positive, I conclude that now the search range has to be from 12 to 20, because for 20 the function value was negative, for 12 it is positive. So for new search range, XL will become 12 and XU remains 20. The function values are already been calculated for 12 and 20. So the values we have written here, and again we do the same calculation, that is halving the range. We find out the midpoint of the range 12 to 20. So XR again will be XL plus XU upon 2. So this time it is 12 plus 20 upon 2, that is 32 upon 2, which comes equal to 16. So second iteration, XR value is 16. Then we find out the function value at XR equal to 16. So I get minus 2.26876. Now here the function value is coming negative. Here the function value is negative. So now I conclude from after second iteration that the range of search lies between 12 and 16. Because for 12 the function value is positive and for 16 the function value is negative. So basically how we are swapping the values of xl and xu is the latest value of x for which the function value is positive and the latest value of x for which the function value is negative are taken as the xl and xu values for the next iteration. So likewise, if we just go on continuing the number of iterations, you will see that the XR values go on changing. Now, if I just look at the 8th iteration, XR value is coming 14.8125 and 9th iteration it is coming 14.78125. So here, if you just compare the two values, the first decimal place also is not tallying. Whereas after that, ninth and 10th iteration, the first decimal place is tallying. If you go on moving further, if you just look here, at 16th and 17th iteration, the two consecutive values of XR are equal up to the 3 decimal places. So here and from the function value also you can get to see that the function value is very close to 0. That means we have almost reached the root. And if the error has to be less than 0.001, then we can stop here and conclude that the root of the given function is 14.780. We will stop for now because we are done with the bisection method, and in the next session we will see the next bracketing method. Thank you.